putting her hands on her knees. It was an intense hike up the hill, especially when trying to break a world record. Each time she heard a car coming, she dove into the overgrown roadside, terrified Lena would see her. She was furious with herself for refusing the lift, and especially for telling Lena she'd take up the car. Back home, she rarely made mistakes like this. She was sharp, to the point, honest, and had an almost photographic memory. No one had ever been able to fool her at work, especially not with excuses, but now she was fooling herself. Natalie felt like she was slowly losing her grip on the control she'd never failed to let go. She felt vulnerable, insecure, and above all, very, very confused about the recent events with Lena that had her doubting her own sanity. She heard another car approaching and jumped behind a bush, failing to notice the ravine behind it. The hill was steep, and despite her best efforts to grab onto anything in sight, she'd slipped and rolled down until she finally hit a tree. Fuck, she screamed, when a jolt of pain went through her ankle. She sat up, inspecting her surroundings. The recent rainfall had turned the hill into a slippery slope, and she was coated in mud. She hadn't fallen far down, but the landing against a tree had seriously hurt her ankle. She tried to stand up and cried out again when she put her weight on it. Natalie groaned in agony, sat back down and examined her arms and legs. They were covered in scratches and her wrist was bleeding. At least she still had her purse clenched in one hand. Her tube with paintings was gone. It had rolled all the way down into the river and was now making its way towards the next village where some kids would find it and laugh at her clumsy attempt to paint a pond. She turned herself onto her hands and knees and started making her way back up towards the road, crawling and pulling herself up by the low-hanging branches. She was out of breath by the time she rolled herself onto the asphalt, staring up at the sky. Her white jeans were green and brown now, and the fabric was ripped at one knee. Her leg was bleeding too, but it didn't look like a serious injury. Another car approached, but this time she refused to go back into the undergrowth. It couldn't get any worse than this. If that's Lena, I must have done something to deserve it. Natalie was beyond shame when the car came to a halt next to her, and the voice she was dreading to hear echoed through the valley. She covered her face with her hands. Nat, are you okay? What are you doing here? Lena got out, ran around the car and kneeled down beside her. What the hell happened? She glanced at Natalie's purse. Were you robbed? Attacked? Please say something. I'm okay, Natalie said in a shaky voice. Nothing like that. It was just an accident. She sat up, too mortified to meet Lena's eyes. Please just take me home. I don't want to talk about it.